I made a list of the 5 biggest mistakes that beginners make when they first start working out. Honestly, if I could go back in time, this is the video that I would show myself. So I'd highly recommend avoiding these 5 things and really paying attention to them. All of these are mistakes that I made when I first started working out too. And honestly, it slowed down a lot of my progress. And so that's why I want to share it with you. And avoiding these things will help you make progress a lot faster, whether you're trying to bulk up or get leaner. Oh, and also these are not only things from my education, but also from my own personal experience and the time I spent, focusing on my nutrition, training, all that kind of stuff. So if you're thinking of starting your fitness journey, just started, or are about a year into it, listen up because you don't want to make these mistakes. Trust me. Number 1, not tracking your calories. So there's this saying, diet is 70% of what makes up your physique and 30% is made in the gym. And honestly, that saying holds pretty true. So you probably already know this, but everything you eat has calories. And the amount of calories that you consume determines whether you're going to be gaining weight, losing weight, or staying the same weight. And for me, as someone who's quite skinny, but had a little bit of a belly when I first started working out, I wanted a 6-pack. And so therefore, me just doing a bunch of ab workouts, I would never get to see my abs. But I never knew that, right? And so this is why this is really important. If your main goal right now is to get tone, get lean, or anything like that, you have to lose weight. And in order to lose weight, you gotta be in a calorie deficit. And if you wanna build muscle fast, bulk up, all that kind of good stuff, get stronger, you gotta be in a calorie surplus. But before you start tracking all your calories and worrying about how many calories you should be eating per day, I will say it's a bit of a more intermediate / advanced thing, I guess you can say. And so you have to be tracking everything you eat throughout the day, every day for months on end to see those results. But if you're the type of person that's just starting out, you don't wanna go that deep into controlling your nutrition and your diet and tracking everything you eat every day, but you still want to have a general gist of, heading in the right direction towards losing weight or bulking up, I would highly recommend you do the first step in that whole calorie tracking thing of checking your TDEE. Basically, just looking this up will help you figure out how many calories you should be eating depending on your own height, weight, and your activity level. Ballpark eating around that amount of calories per day will help you not only make strides towards those goals without having to, micromanage and track everything, but also you see night and day results from just completely ignoring how many calories you have to eat altogether. So if you don't want to go dive deep into calorie tracking completely, you can at least get your toes in the water and, figure out around roughly how many calories you should be eating. Number 2, not eating enough protein. This is huge, okay? I know you've already heard this, but I know you're probably not eating enough if you're watching this video. The reason for this is because we think that we do eat enough protein. When I first started working out, I used to think the same thing. Oh, I eat lots of chicken, I eat burgers, I all this, and this. I eat lots of protein. It was pretty shocking to see that I only ate roughly around 60 to 80 grams of protein per day, thinking that I ate plenty. But I promise you'll be surprised how little you're actually eating. Your daily protein goal should be roughly between 0.8 to 1.2 grams per pound of body weight. And if you're in a calorie deficit, like we mentioned earlier, where you're trying to lose weight, you should be sticking towards that higher end because protein really matters when you're in a deficit, more than it does when you're in a surplus. And if that's a bit too complicated, then the general rule of 1 pound per gram of body weight, basically if you weigh like 150 pounds, eat 150 grams of protein, is a really simple but really effective rule to follow, especially if you're just kind of starting out. You're definitely going to be like 10 steps ahead of the other person who's not tracking or not even knowing how much protein they're eating to begin with, like myself when I started. And how you find out how much grams of protein you're eating per day or where it is in the food is just on the back of nutrition labels. And if you're too lazy, then just use a calorie tracking app like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer. They have their protein on there for most of the foods that you're eating. Little barcode scanners make it so simple too, so it's really convenient. Lifting heavy. So this is kind of a weird one, but it's actually really, really important. You've probably been told train intensely, train hard in order to build lots of muscle, right? 100%. But this is the only time I will disagree with that. If you are just starting out or your form is just kind of like you're not confident with it, to any of the clients that I coach, I tell them the same thing. If you're completely new to working out or just are not confident with your form, you should spend the first 2 to 3 weeks really mastering your form first. Reason being is mastering your form means significantly less chance of injury, which means multiple months spent out of the gym, which is like the worst thing possible. And the second thing is actually you build more muscle. Learning things like controlling the eccentric, all these kind of things can help build more muscle faster. I know it kind of sucks to hear this because it's so tempting to just slap on a bunch of weight and lift something because it feels good and looks cool, right? I feel you. I've been there and I've been injured doing that. But unfortunately, when you're just starting out and you don't have really good experience with technique, this is the fastest way to end up getting injured and slowing down muscle growth just over time. If you really think about it, if you have a solid foundation of execution and form from the get-go, then you're able to progress a lot faster, upping the weight a lot faster and progressing a lot faster over time. So perfecting form does mean that your rep number should be relatively high. Reason why I recommend you do 10 to 15 reps and stay within that rep range in your first 3 weeks when you're focusing on mastering form is because that forces you to do lighter weights. Even if you're training intensely, all that kind of stuff, you're not throwing around a weight that's super uncomfortable for you, especially when your form's not that good. And then once you're out of those 3 weeks, you got your form mastered, you feel really confident with it. That's when you start upping the weight, heading to lower rep ranges like 6 to 8 like I do right now. And that's when you're really gonna be pushing that weight, getting stronger with good form. Not progressively overloading. Progressively overloading is exactly what it sounds like. And honestly, you're probably doing it without knowing, but knowing helps you do it a lot more effectively and quickly. It is the fastest way to be building muscle. It basically means gradually increasing the difficulty of an exercise over time. And you either do this by increasing the amount of reps you do per session or the amount of weight you do per session on a specific exercise. So think about it kind of like a video game. If you're always playing the same computer difficulty over and over again, like on easy mode, you're never gonna really get better as a gamer. And let's say you don't play video games, then let's think about school. If you're taking the same courses over and over and over again, the elementary ones, the beginner ones, are you ever gonna really get smarter or progress as a scholar? No, of course not, right? You gotta challenge yourself in order to grow. That applies to everything. And specifically, that's how you build muscle the fastest, progressively overloading. So that means that each workout session that you're doing on each exercise, you should be striving to be lifting a heavier weight or doing more reps each time. And a great example of how that should happen is like this. So let's take bicep curls for example. If I'm staying within a 6 to 10 rep range, I'm gonna pick a weight. Let's just say 25 pounds. And I always do 3 sets of this bicep curl every upper body day. And so let's say on the first set for today, I do 7 reps. On the second set, same weight, I do 7 reps. And on the third set, obviously I'm gonna get a little tired with the same weight. So then I did 6 sets. All were taken close to failure, training with intensity, all that kind of good stuff. I really just couldn't push anymore, right? That's the max I could do that day for 25 pounds. Sweet. Next upper body session, when I'm hitting the same exact exercise, bicep curls. The first set, I know I did 7. The second set, I know I did 7. And the third set, I know I did 6. So what I'm gonna be doing is trying to beat that number, like the video game, trying to challenge myself to beat that and set a new high score. So I went in on my first set, I did 8 reps. And on my second set, I did 7 reps. And my third set, I did 7 reps. Now I'm doing a little bit better. We're going to repeat over and over again. I'm still doing 25 pounds. And then now let's say 3 or 4 sessions later, I'm able to do on the bicep curl on the first set 10 reps, on the second set 10 reps, and on the third set 9 reps. On average, in general, I am comfortably on that higher end of that rep range of 6 to 10. And I feel comfortable enough to up the weight. So I'm up the weight. See how I'm constantly challenging myself across all workout sessions? Either I'm doing a higher rep number or I'm upping the weight. And therefore, I'm always progressing, always getting stronger and maximizing my muscle growth. So that's progressive overload in a nutshell. And it applies to every single exercise that you do. Yes, that also includes abs. Not playing the long-term game. Now, this is the last one, but this is arguably the most important. So listen up. Fitness is a long-term game. The amount of times I've heard from friends, family, potential clients, or current clients where they're like, hey, I want this 3-month, 4-month transformation. You have to understand that's just not realistic. Like for example, I hear all the time, let's do a quick summer transformation and then I'm gonna go back to school. Well, what's gonna happen when you go back to school? You're gonna just stop working out, then that transformation undoes itself, right? That's not how it should be. And this is why. Chasing that 3 to 4 month transformation oftentimes is going in headstrong, putting in all that work you can, and then burning out too quickly because you did too much you couldn't handle. You honestly just don't have that much time. If you're someone like me, you're either a student, you work full time, or you got a lot of stuff going on. So instead of working 6 days per week, 2 to 3 hours per session from the get-go, and then burning out too quickly because it doesn't fit in your schedule, try starting with 3 workouts, 4 workouts per week, 60 to 90 minute sessions. And if your schedule allows you to, then that's when you start to up the volume, the amount of time you're spending per session, the amount of days you're spending per week. But don't get it twisted that 3 to 4 is not nearly enough. That is a lot. I do that and I've seen lots of progress this way. This single-handedly is what kept me consistent over the years. During more busy parts of the year, I'm not gonna continue doing 6 days a week because I just honestly can't. So what I do instead is be more realistic about it. I'm playing the game where I wanna do this 7, 8 years down the line, looking great. That is the biggest tip I can give you. And that's what kept a lot of my clients consistent, even the most busy ones that are managing like 2 jobs at a time, parents, all that kind of stuff. Your life will continue to get busy, so you have to learn how to implement it into your currently busy life. And honestly, avoiding all 5 of these mistakes will be quite difficult to do all at once, especially if this is your first go at, starting your own fitness journey. So if I had to order them in terms of most important to start with avoiding, I definitely start with number 5. Build a consistent routine that you can stick to. And then number 2, start eating your body weight in protein. Then number 3, focus on your form the first 2 to 3 weeks of you working out. Then number 4, focus on progressively overloading the weeks after. And then a few months in, number 5, get a general gist of how many calories you should be eating per day and try to eat roughly that amount. And if you really want to stay on top of it, I highly recommend you start tracking your calories from the get-go. And I promise you, you'll be literally miles ahead of at least me and everyone I know when I first started working out. And also, if this list helped you out, I'd really appreciate if you go down and click that subscribe button and turn on your post notifications so that you know when I'm posting. I post shorts daily. I post these long form videos every other week. And I'd also really appreciate it if you'd go down and like and comment which mistake you made personally or you know other people have made that's really slowed down your progress in the gym. But honestly, I'm pretty sure that you're gonna comment something along the lines of these 5 because these were the biggest things that I could think of in terms of importance that you should avoid doing. I'm serious, like really avoid these 5 things. I'm being dead serious.